finished the gapping of the passenger door. Turned out good. It wasn't that hard to do. Don't have to do much in the front. Just have to adjust this panel some. But the gapping seems to work. The problem that I come across is in here. If we take away this battery, you'll be able to see it a little bit better. Alright. This is battery apron. That's bad, which it's not a big deal. They sell replacement parts for that. Thought about doing, ordering a new one and just patching it up, cutting it maybe around here and down. But there's some spot welds here, and if I do it like that, seems like it would be a lot faster. But that's not the problem. The problem is down here. Let's see. So that frame rail, that's the issue. So I'm having to figure out what all I need so I can order it and replace it. Not sure how hard that would be to replace. This bumper is gonna have to come off, and looks like it has some bolts in the front, one here, one there, on both sides. I'm thinking I'm gonna take that off. And then there's this bumper attachment, or the brace, whatever it is. It has two bolts, one here, one back there, which is rusted. I'll take that off so I can see what all I need to replace that. Hopefully it's just that outer frame rail, and obviously the battery tray and this battery apron that I'll need. And I was talking to some guy on Facebook, and he said that I have to have a battery reinforcement that goes somewhere in between here. Not sure exactly where, maybe here. But I can't find it, so it's gonna look for some, and I'm gonna look for one. They have them, but for a different year, not for my 73. So that's what I'm dealing with now. And then I also found some rust here, and I have a new hood, but I'd rather keep it original as much as possible. So I'm gonna try to recreate this. It has some stamping, so it goes up, down, up, down. Worst case scenario, I'll just cut it out of the replacement hood I have. But I'm gonna have to get in there and treat some of that rust. It looks worse than what it is in there. It's not too bad. So I'm gonna take this off and see what I have to do to figure out what parts I need to start fixing this mess here. I'll wait for the parts that I need to repair all that stuff there. I went ahead and started on the other rust repairs, like on this hood. I already cut the outside of the hood, and this is like the brace, I guess. So what I'm thinking about doing is just cutting it here, going across and up, and then just replacing this, which will get most of the bad rust, and then I'll treat it for the remainder, and then I'll go ahead and make a new piece for the with the sheet metal. Alright guys, so here's that repair that I did for the hood. This was challenging. I didn't quite get it exact, but this will be covered up. You'll never see it. So I'm not really worried about it. It's a pretty thick material. It's not like the sheet metal, so I had to find a scrap that was pretty thick. So it was hard to bend. What I found was a angle iron that I had, a thin one, not the regular thick one, and it was the right consistency or thickness as the metal that was here before, maybe a little bit thicker. So I just kind of rounded off the corners with the hammer, and I use a punch to kind of get the corners rounded and shape it just right. But the problem is that it has a bend going this way, and then the top goes, you know, like that as well. The top's not a problem, you can cut it, but going this way was a problem. So what I had to do, and you can kind of see it, on the back side of this, I cut some slits on it so I can bend it and shape it the right way. So once I got it, I just kind of tacked it, and then once I tacked it, I shaped it some more with the hammer. So now I have to grind some of the welds. Not perfectly smooth, just kind of get it to where the sheet metal can get flat. And the original piece had some spot welds, 3 spot welds here. And I'm still gonna put it in there, but it's not quite gonna look factory. The replacement hood is just, it's a smooth piece. So it's gonna look like a replacement hood. But again, it's not gonna enter any shows or anything. So as long as it looks good and it functions, that's all I care about. I also got some other parts that I'm gonna need to replace this section. My problem that I'm having is that I think the 73, you know, since it has the bigger bumpers, that outer brace is a little bit different. The holes for the bolts are placed in a different spot. So what I'm thinking I'm gonna do is there's this brace here that attaches to this, which I ordered it, but I may have to return it since it says it's for 71-3, but I was told it's a little bit different. So if I can't make it work, then I'll send it back, and I'm gonna have to make a new piece of metal to replace it, and then I'll try to save this, just kind of cut out the section that's completely gone, weld a new section to it. That way I can keep the location for the bolts the same, and you know, just repair it. So that's what I'm thinking anyway. But I'll know more once I get the frame rail in and inspect it a little bit more. So for now, I'm gonna go ahead and shape this piece here, and then worry about the other stuff later. And I finished up welding the patch for the underside of the hood. It's not perfect. Still need to do a few little things here and there, but it's coming along good. I'm gonna put some fiberglass filler in it, so you're not gonna notice a lot of pinholes. It is welded pretty good all the way around. There's just some low spots and high spots, but the filler will take care of that. It was a little challenging because of the curves that the hood has, and I didn't go exactly OEM. The OEM has 3 big spot welds here, but this is good enough, and probably most people won't notice, and I'm not planning on entering any shows, so only me, and I'm not really worried about it. So now I'm gonna move on to maybe putting in some of the brackets, like the brackets for the spare tire. I already finished doing this weld here too. This one was really easy. I did it pretty fast. I just have a tape here to kind of keep it from rusting, or at least try to. It's still gonna rust. So this had rust all the way in the bottom, all along here. Bunch of little pinholes, and this metal is so thin that if you try to fix it, it's just gonna keep getting bigger and bigger. So I made this whole section from here all the way to up here, and I have 3 spot welds. If you're gonna do this, just kind of cut it underneath those spot welds a little bit, and then carefully do the top part, because there's another support back here which I kind of cut into, so I had to repair that and then make this piece. So learn from my mistakes. But this piece was a lot easier than the hood one. And again, I'm gonna cover all this stuff with the fiberglass filler that I have. It's supposed to not let any water through, especially this section here, because this is where the windshield goes. And I just don't want any moisture getting back there and kind of rusting it out and making it worse. So that's what my plan is. I'm still waiting on the parts for down here. I think one of them may be in back order, so I'm hopefully expecting to get those parts next week or within the next few days. But I got plenty to do, so I'm gonna go ahead and get to it and start making some forward progress. Go ahead and tackle the front section that's all rusted out where the battery tray is. And what I'm thinking about doing is I ordered this piece here, the outer frame rail for the passenger side, but it doesn't come with this. Well, there's two things wrong with it. It doesn't come with this, and then on the description from CJ Pony Parts, it says 71 to 73, but 73 is different because they have the longer bumper, and the holes don't line up. So I think I can modify it to where I can make it work for this, but it's also in back order, so I may just try to make my own piece. It just has a bend here, and it has this tab here. I'm not sure what it's for, but I may try to recreate it myself, and if it still doesn't get here by the time I finish it, then just cancel the order. It's already on order, it's just on back order. And then with this, I may end up cutting it from here all the way forward and up, and then replacing the rusted out part, because the rest of it's still pretty good. That way it kind of keeps the factory look. And here's the other parts that I got. Here's the front section where the battery goes in, or the cavity. For the inside of the Mustang looks to be pretty good quality, and a few other little things like the actual battery tray and some bolts and nuts and stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and start on this to see if I can figure something out. That way, by the time that part gets here, I am ahead of the game, or I just make my own and just forget about it and start welding some pieces. So go ahead and get started. Alright guys, so I managed to get that brace off. It was a pain in the butt. It had like 11 spot welds on the bottom and like 10 on the top. Probably more, but since it was all rotted out, it just came right off. So I went to a local barbecue place where close to where I work in town, and I checked to see if they had any scrap metal that was this thickness, and they didn't. They had thicker stuff, but he offered to make the holes for me and bend it. I guess it wouldn't hurt it to be a little thicker. It's like 3 times as thick, it looks like. So I may use it. The only problem is that since that bottom piece is so thick, it doesn't quite have the bend that I need. So what I'm thinking about doing is cutting it right along, you know, making a line all the way down the bottom. And then cutting it and welding this piece to it to where it has more of a true 90 versus this roll here. So anyway, that's what I think I'm gonna do. Worst case scenario, I'll just go to a different place and try to find something that's a little bit thinner but I think this will work. So I know it's gonna be a pain to drill all these spot welds through here along the bottom, but I'll go ahead and play around with that for a little bit. I may try to remove the remainder of this here. So I think I'm gonna go down, over, down, and just try to remake it from here forward and try to take these nuts off. I was looking at them, it looks like they are just spot welded. So I can reuse those, so I can reuse the original hardware. And then this, I was gonna find a piece and just weld a section to it that was not rusted. But it's just as easy just to make a new piece. Plus, you know, I don't have all this damage, because by the time I cut it, it's gonna be from here down and over and up, so it's a pretty good chunk. So that's why I decided just to go ahead and try to remake it. I'm gonna go ahead and get started on this, get it off, and maybe later go try to find something that's about that thick. Here it is after I removed that piece. It was a pain, but it came out. It's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be inside of the frame rail, just the outer part that was all messed up. So I'm just gonna try to get a piece of metal the same thickness as the piece that I took off, and then just kind of weld it like this to make it a little stronger. And right now I'm just gonna clean it up, spray some rust protective coating inside, and let it dry, and then start making the piece for the outer frame rail, and then start putting the sheet metal back on. I'll probably wait. I'm gonna cut this section off so I can just remove it from down here, pry it out. It'll be a little bit easier. And then I'm thinking I'll cut it from, take the spot welds from here down all the way across, and then just try to maybe weld it across here. The reason for it's because this piece is the original one, and the new piece that I have does not have this bottom piece here for support, just the upper piece. And then up here in the front, it's a little bit different. It seems to be a little bit higher, and I got these panels fitting pretty good, and I'm afraid if I install a new one, I'm gonna have to re-gap everything. With this, I know everything's good, so I may just go ahead and, like I said, cut it here, go all along here and over, so I can just replace the section that's bad, and then leave the upper half as it is and not have to mess with it. So for now, I'm just gonna clean that up. This metal here, I had to use the air chisel to get it out, so I kind of damaged it a little bit. It does have some heavy rust. It's not all the way through the metal, still pretty thick, but I'm thinking about just remaking this piece here, at least to down here, and that way I know I have good clean metal. And then I'm also gonna cut a piece here. This section here has some rust that went through. Maybe cut it here and over to get rid of that rust spot there. So I'm gonna go ahead and start cleaning this up, and then start shaping some metal. Okay, so I came up with another solution instead of using this, because it's thicker, so I'm afraid it's gonna push it out some, and then the bolts for the bumper won't line up anymore. So I've actually found this piece of scrap metal that I had. It's for some shelvings for like just like a display, and it already had the 90 on it, so it turned out perfect. It has this coating on it that I'm gonna remove, and they had some brackets here for the stand. I took those out, so I already kind of have it marked exactly how this piece, I left it a little bit bigger in the top and on the length. Same thing with this one. Another piece of same piece of shelving that I found has the perfect thickness and the 90. This one is a little bit thicker than the original piece, but not by much. So it actually turned out pretty good. Actually, it's pretty close to the same. This one's the one that's thicker. This one's thicker than this piece here. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut it with the plasma cutter on the outside just a tad, and then I'll just finish it up with the grinder. And I may cut a hole through here with the plasma, and then just kind of use a file to finish it up. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut that and cross my fingers and hope it fits good. So just wanted to show you what the brackets are looking like. These are the two original ones. That's how they fit. And here's the ones that I'm making. So I pretty much have this one the size that I need. All I need to do is just kind of clean up the holes a little bit. But if I put this in here, seems to fit just right, just like the original did. And there's really not much difference between the two thickness wise. This one's a little different. This one is a little bit thicker than the original, but just gotta make it a little bit stronger. I need to clean up some of the areas, clean up some of the cut here, and kind of pre-drill the holes already and clean the bottom side out so get the right distance, because I kind of want it to look original, like nothing happened. So that's what I'm gonna be finishing, and then test fitting it in the car, which I kind of already did. Seems to fit pretty good. I still have to clean some stuff up, so I'll go ahead and clean it up, and then I'll let you guys see it once it's all finished. Making some progress on the bracket that I'm making and the outer frame rail. Drill the holes almost exactly to the original one. I already welded this nut on here. It's not a pretty weld, but it's gonna hold. And I also welded this tab on here. I cut it from the original one, and just kind of marked it on this piece of cardboard, so I'll know exactly where it goes. And then I just tack welded it and then took it to the welder and finished welding it up. So it looks pretty original. I believe these are probably to hang the front spoiler, because it has it on both sides, so I'm sure it's has to go there. And all I'm getting ready to do now is weld this. Now I took them off of the original frame rail as well. So this is going to slide right underneath here, like that. And I'll just weld. I'll weld the back side. Kind of bevel the corner so I can get some weld in there, so I can get good penetration. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish that up, and then maybe start messing with the fitment in the car, tack it, and before I fully weld it, I'm probably gonna put the brace back just to make sure everything fits okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish welding this up, and then see what it looks like afterwards. Here's a look of what the frame rail looks like underneath the car. It's not welded or anything. I drilled the holes for the spot welds already. Pretty much goes back in the same spots that it was before, and the front as well. All I have to do now is just fix this piece back here. It has a little bit of rust, and weld that up. Then I can start welding these pieces in and finish that up so I can start welding the new battery section. But it's coming along pretty good. Still needs a little tweaking here and there, but it's coming along. So I'm gonna go ahead and fix that rust repair back there and start fitting some of these pieces. Probably put the bumper back on just to make sure it fits. I'm sure it will, because I measure like 3 or 4 times before I cut something, and I just want to make sure though. So I'll just make sure everything fits properly before I fully weld it, and then move on to the rest of the stuff. So it's coming along. Looks pretty good, looks original. This is what I wanted. And I'll be making sure that I check this every so often so the battery doesn't eat up all this hard work that I just finished doing.